Games are always designed to be played a certain way. Carefully designed and curated mechanics come together to create something, and you don't have to do that thing. Not in every game anyway. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, 10 games you can play the wrong way. Starting off with number 10, Marvel's Spider-Man Going for a Walk. The Insomniac Spider-Man games are well known for their over-the-top set pieces and high-flying action, but sometimes you just want to slow things down. Normally in these games, you're zipping around the city at fast speeds, and don't get me wrong, that is fun all by itself, but sometimes there's just something amusing about dropping down to street level and just moving as slow as the game allows. Gotta be honest, walking around on foot as Spidey, it can feel excruciatingly slow. It takes forever to get anywhere, especially if you're obeying like traffic laws and waiting for crosswalk signs to appear before crossing the street. It's especially painful when you're trying to cross a bridge. At this point, it's like, what am I even doing here? So walking around New York instead of swinging isn't something that you want to be doing all the time, but it's more like a thing you stop and do every so often.
I wonder if we're related. Are you serious, video?
If you really want to appreciate the level of detail Insomniac put in every square inch of its virtual recreation of New York, taking a minute to stop and smell the proverbial roses is a pretty chill way to do it. At 9, an all-deaths run in any Quantic Dream game. In theory, the goal of a branching narrative adventure is to get the best ending, or at least try to get the best ending. In many of these games, death is considered a fail state, not just a choice. It's the result of messing up a bunch of QTEs, so baseline, you're not really supposed to do everything wrong in these games on purpose, but yeah, it's fun. Fun to do. Like, there's not much to do if the game literally forces you to go back if the character dies. But in a game like Heavy Rain or Detroit Become Human, the story continues even if a character bites it early. So it's not really a failure so much as a different kind of choice. And depending on how sadistic you're feeling that day, it can be pretty funny. Take any random QTE sequence from these games, do everything right, basically looks like your average action movie, but go through these moments and do everything wrong? Oh my lord. Pure comedy. Your guy becomes the clumsiest buffoon of all time, slipping and falling all over the place, or getting shot constantly, somehow not dying, at least not yet. Don't tell me that grocery store scene in Heavy Rain isn't the funniest damn thing you've ever seen in a video game. It is.
Hey man, what you from?
There's no competition. It's brilliant. I'm talking about intentionally funny stuff, by the way, because it's not like Dr. Wowie. It's intentionally funny if you fail. There's just kind of a perverse sort of entertainment in playing these games wrong and getting everybody killed as soon as possible, especially if you're not already on board for their brand of over-the-top melodrama. At number 8 is Parkitect, Building Death Coasters, a classic. Take any amusement park management game like Roller Coaster Tycoon, Planet Coaster, or Parkitect, and instead of building a fun ride for your guests to enjoy, you build a death trap that will kill them. Depending on the game, it can be a little more satisfying than others. I think Parkitect is especially enjoyable because they actually simulate physics, and not just physics of like the coaster, but your riders getting hurled off the tracks to their certain doom. You don't even build like an elaborate death trap to have some fun in these games. Just load up a custom scenario, ruin a few pre-built coasters by deleting a strut in the right spot. That's really all it takes to give any given coaster its dark magic run, so to speak. Sure, other management style games let you have fun by generating misery, like building an intentionally wrong city in City Skylines or something like that. But the death coaster is the most viscerally satisfying by a long shot. And number 7, being a law-abiding citizen in Grand Theft Auto. These games thrive on chaos, police chases, shootouts, violence. It's all crazy, over the top, and against the law. But some people want nothing to do with that, man. These are games where breaking the rules is the whole point. So, to follow the rules of the road, and yet all the other rules, it's kind of breaking the rules of Grand Theft Auto. Coloring in the lines in a Picasso simulator? You rebel. And to be honest, it's actually kind of difficult to do this in Grand Theft Auto. It's another one of the most common ways people do choose to play a game wrong, though. Obeying the traffic laws, avoiding crime. It's basically impossible if you actually want to complete any missions. But if you're just going on a Sunday cruise, then sure, it can be annoying and difficult, but it's fun to try and exist in this world without driving around and being a maniac. Expect a lot of sitting around in traffic though, because yeah, especially in GTA 4. But there are plenty of open roads in GTA 5 to enjoy. Some people turn the game into a hiking simulator, and that's an even more placid way to play. All this stuff completely goes against the entire ethos of the series, like I said. But hey, these are some of the most fully realized open worlds out there. It's fun to explore and just, experience them in a new way. You're supposed to be able to do anything, right? So why not? And number 6, Warthog jousting in the original Halo. Before the Forge came along and made it possible to play Halo any way you wanted, Halo 1 had your standard deathmatch, team deathmatch, and capture the flag formats. You know, what you're supposed to do in a multiplayer game, right? You frag your enemies. But one of the most entertaining wrong ways to play requires some cooperation. Here's the thing. In Halo 1, vehicles are invulnerable to damage. Nothing can destroy them, which makes them perfect for things like vehicle bumper cars or Warthog jousting. Just have each opponent load up into a car and ram into each other until someone gets thrown out of the vehicle. Rules vary from person to person, but for us being outside of the Warthog meant that you can get shot. Playing with rocket launchers was also a popular variant, but the basics of the whole thing was that everyone would load up into cars and ram them into each other for fun. Halo 2 made the unfortunate change of making vehicles take damage, and that was the end of Warthog jousting as we knew it, but it was fun while it lasted. And number 5 is being homeless in The Sims 4. Having a house is sort of the prevailing point of The Sims. After putting together a family, the first thing you have to do is select a plot for them to live in. These games are all about the idealized version of a family life where everyone gets a big house, jobs are plentiful, and life is kind of like a progression system in a video game. You're always going up. I mean, if you play the game right. And to be fair, it's arguable that's playing it right, but that's a different discussion altogether. If you really want to challenge yourself in these games, do the opposite of what you're supposed to do. Instead of building your dream home, move your dude into an empty lot, give them only a park bench to sleep on, and call it a day. You've essentially made them homeless, and that brings a whole new set of challenges into play when you're trying to play one of these games. It's still not easy to actually kill them. This is The Sims after all, but keeping them happy, not easy. Go to public places, steal people's food, dig through the garbage. If you got the kleptomaniac trait, you can just steal stuff. That's essential.
Oops. You mess. Oh, you have Wazusa? No. Woohoo!
There's 2 main rules that you can't build anything, and your homeless guy can't just take a job. They have to remain a bum no matter what. It makes you look at The Sims a completely different way, and it's honestly a fun little challenge. And number 4, driving backwards and causing chaos in Mario Kart. Another one of those classic ways to play games wrong. All you have to do is turn around in just about any kart racing game. You, of course, will never win, but it can be very entertaining trying to run interference on people who actually are trying to win. Of course, if the track has any jumps or gaps, driving backwards is impossible, but on any of the more normal levels, you can keep driving backwards as long as you like, ramming into people, throwing around weapons. I mean, it's a hell of a lot of fun when you got some friends who are willing to go along with it, but unfortunately, this wrong way to play isn't possible in the newest version of Mario Kart. Seriously, you try to drive the wrong way for too long, the game just picks you up and puts you back on track. Kind of sucks. Pretty much any other game lets you drive against traffic as long as you want, but not Mario Kart 8. And number 3 is Age of Empires 2, the No Units Army. Another classic way of playing games wrong. Age of Empires is an RTS game that it's inexplicably still going really strong to this day. It gets multiple expansions a year. Another one just announced recently. It's a game that's just not going to die. How you're supposed to play is obvious. You build up a base, generate an army, then you clash with your opponent. It's always tempting in these types of games to avoid the combat part entirely, just turn it into a city builder. But this wrong way goes beyond even that. It goes in how you build up your defenses. A lot of them. Take turtling to an all-new level by never building a single soldier to actually fight. Just keep building defensive towers and more elaborate forms of defense. In most RTS games, completely impossible. Defenses are fairly weak overall, but not in Age of Empires 2. You may need to crank up the resource setting to max before the match starts, but it's totally possible the sea of walls and turrets that can withstand any and all attacks. It's extremely time-consuming and tedious, but it can be done, especially with the help of a few, make it a dozen or more monks to help convert the enemy to your cause.
Hi.
It's a completely backwards way of playing these games, but who cares? It's fun. At number 2, not farming in Farm Simulator. A lot of the things I've listed so far involve people turning action games into boring, slow-paced slogs on purpose. Well, this entry is the total opposite. Normally in Farm Simulator, you're supposed to farm. Like, duh. What do you think you're going to do in Farm Simulator? It simulates farming, so you're going to farm, right? Well, not today. Farming involves a lot of tedious work that can, I don't know why we even bother with it, man. So let's drive into town, blow all our farming grant money on a little car, and go cruising. Trying to play Farm Simulator like GTA is not easy. In fact, it's kind of a mess, and that's why it's fun. Try to run over people. Try to speed around town, look for things to ramp up off of. It's awkward and janky, but it's also hilarious. It soon becomes very clear that there's really not a lot this game lets you get away with, but on the rare occasion it does. The mischief is amazing. And finally, at number 1, spare the civilians in Prototype. If you want the ultimate challenge of intentionally trying to play a game wrong, this is it. In some games like GTA, avoiding collateral damage can be difficult, but in Prototype, it's downright impossible. Like, look at this chaos. This is a game that about 90% of the time it looks like this. People running around, flailing their arms, just asking to get scooped up by a monster man and absorbed into the biomass. Kind of sounds dirty when you say it, actually. I'm your monster man. Let me scoop you up and absorb you into my biomass. Okay, actually it doesn't sound dirty. Even when you say it dirty, it completely loses it. Just becomes nerd talk when you use that voice. Killing civilians, it's easy. It's as easy as breathing in this game. It happens literally all the time, and trying to avoid it is probably the ultimate futile exercise in playing a game wrong. Seriously, these guys are worse than lemmings. They're not just oblivious to the world around them. They almost want to die. They literally just run right towards you, begging for oblivion or whatever the hell is going on here. The sad thing is, I'm not even talking about a pacifist run here or anything, because that's just straight up impossible in this game. I'm talking about trying to avoid killing bystanders. That is almost possible, for a while at least, but it is crazy. Compare this to pretty much any other open world superhero game. In those, you really have to go out of your way to put regular civilians in harm's way, but in Prototype, it is the exact opposite. Not killing them is incredibly hard because the game actively encourages you to do it at every turn. I have a quick bonus for you before we're done. The swordless run in Legend of Zelda. It's one of those wrong ways to play a game that's been around forever. A self-imposed challenge that's got a lot of staying power because it's really simple, yet very difficult. All you have to do is play the original Legend of Zelda without ever picking up the sword. In most of these games, you get a weapon automatically, but in the original, you had to go into that first cave to get a sword, but you don't actually have to do that. It's just as easy to walk away and play the rest of the game weaponless. I mean, the weaponless part isn't easy. It's as easy to not go into the cave as it is to go into the cave. It's really difficult, and I think actually beating the boss might require you to use the sword, so it's not a perfect challenge. You could tell I haven't tried it. But the rest of the game is completely possible to get through without using your standard weapon at all. It's a popular one with Zelda Masters. One of the easiest examples I can think of where people would intentionally play the game wrong just to amuse and challenge themselves. That's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on Game Ranks.